Hey everyone! Welcome back to Lily's English Mastery Podcast, where we believe that learning English doesn't have to be boring, stressful, or overwhelming. I'm Lily, and I am so thrilled you're here with me today. If you're new to this podcast, welcome to your new favorite place for breaking through language barriers and actually speaking English with real confidence. Before we dive into today's incredible episode, I want to ask you to do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. Seriously, do it. This way, you'll never miss an episode, and trust me, you're going to want to hear every single one of them. New episodes drop every single week, and each one is packed with game-changing strategies that will transform how you speak and think in English. And while you're at it, please share this episode with someone you care about. Share it with your study buddy, your language learning friend, your colleague who's been struggling with English, whoever needs this message. Sharing helps us reach more people, and it honestly means the world to me when you spread the word about what we're doing here. Make absolutely sure you check out our complete English mastery playlist. This playlist is like a treasure chest of episodes covering every aspect of English learning you could possibly imagine. Grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation skills, cultural insights, everything. Go add that playlist to your library right now because you're going to want to binge through all of this amazing content. Today's episode is seriously going to change how you think about one of the most confusing topics in English learning. And I promise you, by the end of this episode, you're going to feel like someone finally took the time to explain this in a way that actually makes sense. Let's jump in. You know, I've been teaching English for almost 2 decades now, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that there's one topic that causes more confusion, more frustration, and more self-doubt in English learners than almost anything else. And that topic is English tenses. Yes, grammar rules. Tenses. The very thing that makes so many English learners want to throw their grammar books in the trash. Let me ask you something. How many tenses do you think English has? Go ahead and think about it for a second. 12? 16? Maybe even more. I've had students tell me they found grammar books that listed 23 different tenses. Can you imagine? 23! It's absolutely insane. And the worst part is, most of these tenses are complicated, confusing, and honestly, completely unnecessary for real everyday communication. Here's the shocking truth that nobody tells you when you're learning English. Native speakers, people who grew up speaking English their whole lives, people who use English every single day at work, with their families, with their friends, they do not use all of these tenses. Not even close. Do you know how many tenses native speakers actually use in their everyday conversations? 5. Just 5. That's it. That's all you need to become a confident, fluent English speaker. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Lily, that can't be right. I see all these complicated tenses in my grammar book. I've studied future perfect continuous and past perfect progressive and all these other ones, and you're telling me I don't need them? Exactly. You don't. Well, maybe someday when you're writing a dissertation or doing some very formal academic work, those tenses might come up. But for real life, for conversations, for work, for travel, for friendships, 5 tenses will get you through everything. Let me tell you a story that perfectly illustrates why this matters. I had a student named Rebecca. She was incredibly dedicated. She studied English for hours every single day. She had grammar books stacked on her desk. She was learning conjugations and tense formations and all these complicated rules. She spent 2 entire weeks studying just one tense. Can you guess which one? Future perfect continuous. Do you know what that is? It's a tense for talking about something that will have been happening for a period of time in the future. It's so rare that I almost never use it, and I'm a native English speaker. Rebecca studied this tense intensively. She memorized all the rules. She did grammar exercises until her eyes hurt. 2 weeks of effort, and then one day she went to a coffee shop in New York City. She walked up to the counter, and the barista asked her, "What can I get you?" And Rebecca completely froze. She couldn't answer. Do you know why? Because she had spent so much time on that complicated tense that she forgot the simple ones. She didn't know how to say, "I would like a coffee, please." She couldn't handle a basic, everyday conversation because she had her brain stuffed with unnecessary grammar rules. This is the real problem with how English is usually taught. Teachers and textbooks get so focused on being complete, on covering every single possible grammar structure, that they lose sight of what actually matters. And what actually matters is being able to communicate. It's being able to say what you mean. It's being able to have conversations. It's being able to connect with people. Grammar is just a tool to help you do those things. It's not the goal itself. So, if 5 tenses are all you need, which 5 are they? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to break down the 5 essential tenses for you. I'm going to show you when to use each one. I'm going to give you real examples. I'm going to show you how they work together. And by the end of this episode, you're going to understand English tenses in a way that actually makes sense. Here's what's amazing about these 5 tenses. Together, they cover everything. Job interviews, casual conversations, telling stories about your past, talking about your future plans, having deep conversations with friends, traveling to new countries, working in professional environments, all of it. Everything you could possibly want to do in English, you can do with these 5 tenses. So let's stop wasting time on the complicated ones and focus on what's actually going to make you fluent. All right, let's talk about the first tense, the one that I consider the most important. This is the foundation of English. This is the tense of your identity, of who you are, of what you do. This is simple present. Simple present is used for several things, and they're all fundamental to how you communicate about yourself and your life. It's used for habits, things you do regularly, routines, facts, identity, things that are true about you. Let me give you some examples. I drink coffee every morning. That's a habit. She works at a hospital as a nurse. That's her job, her identity. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. That's a fact. They live in Toronto. That's where they're based. These are all simple present. Think about what happens when someone meets you for the first time and they ask, "What do you do?" What's your answer? You answer in simple present. You say, "I'm a teacher," or "I work in technology," or "I'm a student." You don't say, "I am working as a teacher." That would be weird in that context. Simple present is the tense you use to talk about your life, your identity, who you are. Now, here's where I see a lot of English learners make mistakes with this tense. They'll say things like, "I am study English," or "she is work at a bank," or "they are live in New York." And it sounds wrong to native speakers, but I understand where the confusion comes from. You're probably thinking, well, I'm doing something, so I need the continuous form. But that's not how it works. The rule is simple. For habits, routines, facts, and identity, you use the base form of the verb with no helping verb in between. You don't add am or is or are. You just use the base verb. I eat. You eat. He eats. She eats. It eats. We eat. They eat. The only change is that with third person singular, he or she or it, you add an s or es to the verb. He eats. She works. It rains. Let me give you more examples so this really sinks in. I study English every day. That's my habit. My friend teaches yoga. That's her job. The sun rises in the east. That's a fact of nature. Dogs love playing with balls. That's their nature. I live in a small apartment. That's where I'm based. These are all simple present, and they all follow that same pattern. Base verb, and for he, she, it, you add an S or ES. Now, here's something really important. Simple present is not just for things that happen regularly. It's also for things that are universally true, scientific facts, truths about human nature, things that don't change. The earth orbits the sun, cats have 4 legs, love makes people do crazy things. These are all simple present because they're true all the time, not just sometimes. I want to tell you about a student of mine named Ahmed. Ahmed was learning English, and he was constantly confused about simple present. He would say things like, I am go to work every day, or she is drink coffee in the morning. And every time I would correct him and say, Ahmed, you don't need the continuous form here. Just use simple present. But he kept making the same mistake because in his native language, the grammar works differently. It takes time to rewire your brain, and that's completely normal. What helped Ahmed was when I gave him a framework to think about it. Simple present is for things that are generally true, things that don't change much. You do it regularly. It's part of your routine, your identity, your nature. Present continuous, which we'll talk about in the next segment, is for things that are happening right now, in this moment. They're temporary, they're in progress. So I study English is what you do as a habit. I am studying English is what you're doing right now while we're talking. Once Ahmed understood that distinction, everything clicked for him. He stopped making that mistake because he had a mental picture of when to use each one. And that's what I want for you too. I want you to have these clear mental pictures so you don't have to think about the rules. You just know, naturally, which tense to use. Here's another thing about simple present that's really important. It's the tense that makes you sound like you know what you're talking about. When you use simple present with confidence, you sound authoritative. You sound like you know your own life. You sound clear. You sound direct. I work in finance sounds way more confident than I am working in finance when you're answering a basic question about your job. So learning to use simple present naturally is going to help you sound more confident too. Okay, so now let's move to the second tense. This is present continuous, and this one is perfect for describing what's happening right now, in this moment, what you're doing, what others are doing, actions in progress. The basic form of present continuous is simple. You take a form of the verb to be, which is am, is, or are, and you add the ing form of the verb. So it's am plus the ing form, is plus the ing, are plus the ing. I am learning English. She is sleeping. They are building a new shopping center in my neighborhood. These are all present continuous, and they all mean something is happening right now or around this time. Let me give you more examples. I am drinking water while I talk to you. That's happening right now. My cat is sleeping on the couch. That's happening at this moment. They are planning a surprise party for their friend. That's an action in progress. The construction company is working on that building downtown. That's happening right now, today, this week. Now, here's where present continuous gets really interesting. A lot of learners don't realize that you can use it for more than just things that are literally happening at this exact second. You can use it for things that are happening around this time in your life, like I am learning Japanese. That doesn't mean you're sitting with a Japanese textbook right now at this second. It means you're in the process of learning Japanese. You're doing it regularly. It's an ongoing project. Or imagine this. Your friend calls you and says, "What are you doing?" You could answer, "I am cooking dinner." That could mean you're actively cooking right now, or it could mean that's what you're in the process of doing today. It's context dependent. Native speakers use present continuous flexibly, and you can too, once you understand the basic idea. Here's something else that blows people's minds. Present continuous can also be used for the future. I know that sounds weird, but hear me out. If you have plans that are already arranged, already decided, already booked, you can use present continuous to talk about them. I am flying to Tokyo next week. That's the future, but you use present continuous because the plan is already arranged. We are having dinner at 8 o'clock tonight. That's future, but the plan is set. She is meeting her boyfriend tomorrow afternoon. That's future, but it's already decided. The difference between this and simple future with will is the certainty and the planning. With present continuous for the future, the plan is already made. It's already in your calendar. It's already booked. With will, it might be more spontaneous or less certain. We're going to talk about that more when we get to the future tense, but I want you to see how these tenses work together. I had a student named Priya who really struggled with this. She would say things like, I will go to the beach next weekend. And technically, that's not wrong. People do say that. But if she had already booked a trip, it would be more natural to say, I am going to the beach next weekend. The difference is subtle, but native speakers feel the difference. Priya didn't understand that at first, but once I explained it like this, it made sense. Present continuous for planned futures sounds more certain, more definite. It's already locked in. Another thing about present continuous is that it really helps you sound like you're in the middle of things. It gives your English a sense of action and movement. Instead of just saying, I work on a project, you could say, I am working on a project right now. It sounds more dynamic. It sounds like things are happening. And in conversation, that dynamism helps engage people. All right, moving on to the third tense. And this one is the storyteller's best friend. This is simple past. Whenever you're telling a story, sharing an experience, talking about something that already happened, you're going to use simple past. Simple past is for anything that happened in the past and is now finished. Yesterday, last week, 5 years ago, when you were a child, last month, whenever. If it's in the past and it's done, you use simple past. I went to the market yesterday. She called me last night. We had a great time at the party. I visited my grandmother last summer. He graduated from university 2 years ago. These are all simple past, and they're all things that happened before now and are complete. The basic structure is super straightforward. You just use the past tense form of the verb. For regular verbs, that means adding ed to the end. Walk becomes walked. Talk becomes talked. Cook becomes cooked. Listen becomes listened. Watch becomes watched. Play becomes played. The pattern is consistent and predictable. But here's where a lot of learners get frustrated. English has irregular verbs, lots of them, and these irregular verbs don't follow the rules. Go doesn't become good, it becomes went. Come doesn't become comed, it becomes came. Eat doesn't become eated, it becomes ate. Eat doesn't become eated, it becomes ate. Buy becomes bought. Make becomes made. Do becomes did. See becomes saw. The list goes on, and it can feel overwhelming. I completely understand why learners get frustrated with irregular verbs. It seems unfair. Why don't they just follow the rules? The thing is, English has a lot of irregular verbs because they're the most common verbs. They've been around in the language for thousands of years, and they've been used so much that they've become irregular over time. It's actually a sign of how frequently they're used. But here's my advice. Don't try to memorize all the irregular verbs at once. That's a losing battle. Instead, focus on the most common ones, the verbs you use every day or every week. Go, came, eat, see, buy, make, take, have, do, get, say, think, know, feel, want, need, like, love, hate. If you master these irregular verbs, the ones you actually use all the time, you can tell about 95% of your stories. That's huge. You don't need to memorize every single irregular verb in existence. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're telling a friend about your weekend. I went to the market, I saw some beautiful flowers. I bought some for my apartment. I came home and made dinner. I ate with my roommate. We talked for hours about our families and our dreams. I felt so happy. That's a complete story about your weekend. You used simple past consistently. And look at the irregular verbs. Went, saw, bought, came, made, ate, talked, felt. Most of those are common verbs you'd use frequently anyway. Here's something I want to emphasize about simple past. When you use it with certainty and clarity, it helps you sound like you know what you're talking about. You're not hesitant. You're not uncertain. You're telling your story, and people listen. I went there. I saw it. I did it. I felt it. These are powerful statements. And in conversation, that clarity and confidence are incredibly valuable. I had a student named Marcus who was terrified of making mistakes with verb tenses. He would speak so slowly and carefully because he was trying to get the tense right, and it made him sound very unnatural and uncertain. But once he started focusing on just getting the story out, even if he wasn't 100% sure about every tense, his English sounded so much better. His confidence improved. He was able to share his experiences, and over time, as he got more practice, his accuracy with tenses improved naturally too. Okay, number 4, and this is the tense that I think really changes things for sounding more natural and native-like. This is present perfect, and I love this tense because it's so useful, but so many learners skip over it or don't understand it properly. Present perfect is probably the trickiest of the 5 tenses to understand because it bridges the past and the present. It's a past action that has relevance to now. The structure is have or has plus the past participle. I have visited Paris. She has eaten sushi. We have watched that movie. They have finished their homework. He has lived in that city for 10 years. The key thing about present perfect is that when you use it, you're not saying exactly when something happened. The specific time doesn't matter, or at least it's not the main point. The main point is that it happened and it's relevant now. Like if someone asks, "Have you ever tried Korean food?" They don't care if it was last Tuesday or 5 years ago. They just want to know your experience, whether you've had the experience or not. So you say, "Yes, I have tried it," or "No, I haven't tried it." You're not saying when. You're just saying whether you have that experience or not. Let me give you more examples. Have you ever traveled to another country? Have you ever made a big mistake? Have you ever experienced real love? Have you ever felt truly happy? These questions are about experience, not about time. And you answer with present perfect. Yes, I have traveled to Europe. Yes, I have made mistakes. Yes, I have experienced love. The answer tells you whether the person has that experience in their life. Here's something really interesting about present perfect. You can also use it for things that happened very recently or things that just finished. I have just eaten lunch. I have just arrived home. I have just heard some amazing news. These uses of present perfect suggest that something is fresh, that it just happened, that it's still relevant to this moment. Now, here's where it gets interesting. If you want to talk about the same experience, but you want to give a specific time, you switch to simple past. So, have you ever tried sushi? Is present perfect because you're not asking when. But if you answer, yes, I tried it last year when I visited Tokyo, you switch to simple past because now you're being specific about time. You tried it last year. That's a specific moment in the past, so you use simple past. This is actually a really elegant system. Present's perfect when the time is not specific or not important. Simple past when you want to specify when. They work together beautifully. You use present perfect to set up an experience, and then you use simple past to tell the story of that experience. I had a student named Jasmine who finally understood this when I gave her this framework. She'd been mixing them up constantly. She'd say things like, I went to Paris 3 times, when it would be more natural to say, I have been to Paris 3 times, because you're talking about your experience, not about a specific time. But then she could follow with, I went there for the first time when I was a child. And that specific story uses simple past. Once she had this clear mental model, she started using them naturally. Another really cool thing about present perfect is that it's super common in news and current events. The government has announced a new policy. Scientists have discovered a new species. The company has released a new product. It's happening recently, and it's relevant right now. That's why news articles always sound like that. Journalists use present perfect to make events feel current and connected to the present moment. All right, we're at the 5th and final tense. This is the one you use to talk about the future, to make predictions, to make promises, to talk about what's going to happen. This is simple future with will. Simple future with will is incredibly straightforward. You just use will plus the base form of the verb. I will call you later. You will see amazing things. She will become a doctor. They will help us. It will rain tomorrow. I will not forget you. These are all simple future with will, and they're all predictions, promises, or things you decide to do in the moment. The basic structure is super simple. Will plus the verb in its base form. No ing, no ed, just the base form. Will go, will talk, will help, will remember, will understand. The beauty of simple future is that it's regular. There are no irregular forms to memorize. Every verb works the same way. You just add will. Now, here's something really important that a lot of learners don't realize. There are 2 ways to talk about the future in English, and they have different meanings. We already talked about one of them, present continuous for planned futures. I am meeting my friend tomorrow. That's the future, but I'm using present continuous because the plan is already arranged and decided. But there's also simple future with will, which is for spontaneous decisions or predictions. These are things you decide in the moment. They're not pre-planned. Like, imagine your friend calls you and says, "Can you help me move boxes this weekend?" You think for 1 second and say, "Sure, I will help you." That's a spontaneous decision. You just decided right in that moment to help them, so you use will. Or imagine you're looking at the sky and you see dark clouds coming. You say, "It will rain soon." That's a prediction based on what you're seeing right now. You're not saying it's definitely planned. You're saying it will probably happen, so you use will. The difference between "I'm meeting my friend tomorrow" and "I will meet you" is subtle but really important. The first one means the plan is already made. It's already in my calendar. It's already decided. The second one means I'm deciding right now, in this moment. "I will meet you" means I'm making that commitment right now. and native speakers can feel the difference. This was a huge revelation for one of my students named David. He had been using will for everything. I will go to the beach next weekend. I will visit my family next month. I will attend the conference next year. And while these are technically not wrong, they don't sound as natural as I'm going to the beach next weekend or I'm visiting my family next month would sound if those things are already planned. David had been a student of mine for years, and he was already pretty fluent. But when he learned the difference between these two ways of talking about the future, something clicked for him. He realized he'd been using will for everything because that's how some grammar books teach it. But he'd never learned about this distinction. Once he started using present continuous for planned futures, his English sounded so much more natural and native-like. Here's the amazing thing. You don't have to be perfect with this distinction. Native speakers will understand you if you use will for everything. But once you know both ways, you sound so much better. You sound like someone who really understands the language, not someone who's just following grammar rules. Okay, so we've gone through all 5 tenses. Let's review them super quickly so you have them all in your mind clearly. Number 1, simple present. This is for habits, routines, facts, identity. I drink coffee every day. That's simple present. It's what you do regularly. Number 2, present continuous. This is for actions in progress, things happening right now or around this time in your life. I am drinking coffee right now. It's happening at this moment. Number 3, simple past. This is for things that already happened and are finished. I drank coffee this morning. It happened earlier today and it's done. Number 4, present perfect. This is for past experiences that are relevant now or things that just happened. I have never drunk black coffee. I've never had that experience. Or I have just finished this coffee. It just happened. Number 5, simple future with will. This is for predictions, spontaneous decisions, and promises. I will drink more coffee after this podcast. I'm predicting or promising that's what I'll do. Isn't it amazing that you can tell a complete story with your past, your present, your future, your experiences, your identity, using just these 5 tenses? Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're at a party and someone asks, "So, you speak English? Tell me about your journey." And now, with these 5 tenses, you could say something like this. I study English every day. That's my commitment. That's simple present. Right now, I am working on my pronunciation and my fluency. That's present continuous. I started learning 2 years ago, and I've made so much progress since then. That's simple past and present perfect. I have watched hundreds of hours of English videos, listened to thousands of English podcasts, and read countless English books. That's present perfect. One day, I will speak English like a true native speaker, and I will use it to travel the world and connect with people from different cultures. That's simple future. Do you see how powerful that is? You just told a compelling story about your journey with English. You talked about who you are right now, what you're doing currently, what you've accomplished, and what you're going to achieve, all with 5 tenses. No complicated grammar, just clear, natural English that sounds authentic and confident. Here's what I want you to really understand about this. The goal isn't to impress people with complicated grammar. The goal isn't to show off how many tenses you know. The goal is to communicate clearly. It's to share your thoughts, your feelings, your experiences, your dreams. It's to connect with people. And these 5 tenses give you everything you need to do that. I've been teaching English for nearly 2 decades, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that the learners who focus on mastering these 5 tenses are the ones who become fluent the fastest. They're the ones who sound the most natural. They're the ones who feel the most confident. And they're the ones who actually use English in their real lives, not just in grammar exercises. Let me tell you why understanding these 5 tenses and focusing on them is genuinely life-changing for your English learning journey. First, it eliminates confusion. If you're looking at a grammar book that lists 20 different tenses, it's confusing. You don't know where to start. You don't know what's important. First, it eliminates confusion. If you're looking at a grammar book that lists 20 different tenses, it's confusing. You don't know where to start. You don't know what's important. Second, it saves you time. You don't waste weeks studying complicated tenses you'll never use. You don't spend hours doing grammar exercises on past perfect progressive or future perfect continuous. You focus your energy where it matters, on the tenses that are going to help you communicate in real life, and that means you improve faster. Third, it builds confidence. When you practice these 5 tenses over and over, they become automatic. You don't have to think about them anymore. You just know which one to use. And when you're speaking naturally without thinking about grammar rules, you sound confident. You sound fluent. You sound like someone who belongs in an English conversation. Fourth, it actually works. It works in real conversations. It works when you're traveling. It works in job interviews. It works when you're making new friends. These 5 tenses cover everything that comes up in real life. You're not going to be in a conversation and suddenly need past perfect continuous, I promise you. But you will definitely use these 5 tenses constantly. I want to tell you about another student of mine named Alejandro. He had been learning English for 5 years. 5 years! But he still felt insecure speaking. He would memorize grammar rules and try to apply them when he spoke, which made him slow and unnatural. He was so focused on being correct that he couldn't be fluent. When Alejandro came to me, I simplified everything. I said, forget about all the tenses you've been studying. Let's focus on these 5. At first, he was skeptical. He thought I was oversimplifying things. But we spent a few weeks practicing just these 5 tenses in real contexts. We did conversational practice, we told stories, we made predictions, we talked about his daily life. And within a few weeks, something shifted for Alejandro. He stopped thinking about grammar rules when he spoke. He just spoke. And because he had practiced these 5 tenses so much, they came out naturally and correctly most of the time. His speech became fluent. His confidence soared. He went from being someone who was afraid to speak English to someone who was genuinely enjoying conversations in English. The moral of the story is this: your brain learns better when you focus. When you're trying to learn 23 different tenses, your brain is scattered. But when you're focused on 5 tenses, your brain can really master them. You can internalize them. You can make them automatic. And that's where real fluency comes from. Not from knowing everything, but from mastering the essentials. Let me talk about some of the most common mistakes I see learners make with these 5 tenses, so you can avoid them. Mistake number 1, using present continuous when you should use simple present. I am study English. No, that's wrong. I study English. You study regularly. It's your habit. Simple present, not present continuous. Present continuous is for things that are happening right now, in progress. I am studying English right now. See the difference? Studying is something you do regularly, so simple present. Studying right now is something in progress, so present continuous. Mistake number 2, using simple past when you should use present perfect. Someone asks, have you ever been to Paris? And you answer, yes, I went to Paris. That's technically not wrong, but it's not quite right either. If you're answering the question, have you ever, you should answer with present perfect. Yes, I have been to Paris. That answers the question directly. Then you can follow with simple past for the specific story. I went there 3 years ago. Mistake number 3. Using will for everything when talking about the future. I will go to the meeting tomorrow. If that meeting is already scheduled, if it's already in your calendar, if it's already planned, it would be more natural to say, I am going to the meeting tomorrow. Will is for spontaneous decisions or predictions. But many learners use will for everything because it's simpler. Try to develop an awareness of the difference. Mistake number 4. Not changing the verb form correctly. With he, she, it, simple present needs an S added. She go to work is wrong. She goes to work is right. This is one of the most common mistakes because it seems like a small detail, but native speakers really notice it. Try to make this automatic. Mistake number 5. Mistake number 5, mixing up irregular verbs in simple past. Using went for go is right, but maybe you're not sure about less common irregular verbs. Just focus on the most common ones first. Go, come, see, eat, buy, make, do, have, say, think. These are the ones you use all the time. Once you master these, other irregular verbs will become clearer too. The good news is that all of these mistakes are fixable. You're not making them because you're not smart enough. You're making them because you haven't had enough practice yet. Your brain needs time to internalize these patterns, so be patient with yourself. Keep practicing. Correct yourself when you catch an error. And over time, these 5 tenses will become completely natural to you. Let me give you some examples of how these 5 tenses show up in real situations so you understand exactly how to use them when you really need them. Scenario 1. You're in a job interview, and the interviewer asks, "Tell me about your experience." You answer using a combination of tenses. I work in marketing. That's simple present because it's what you do. I have worked in this field for 5 years. That's present perfect because you're talking about your experience. I started my career at a small company and learned a lot. That's simple past because you're telling a specific story. Right now, I am managing a team of 8 people. That's present continuous because it's your current role. I will bring all of this experience to your company. That's simple future. See how naturally the tenses flow together in a real conversation? Scenario 2. You're telling a friend about your weekend. I went to the beach on Saturday. Simple past, a specific event that happened. I have never seen the ocean so beautiful. Present perfect, an experience. The waves were huge and the sky was an amazing blue. Simple past, continuing your story. I'm still feeling relaxed. Present continuous, how you're feeling now. I will definitely go back next weekend. Simple future, your plans. Scenario 3. You're having coffee with someone you just met. They ask, "So what do you do?" You say, "I teach English." Simple present, your job. I have always loved languages since I was a child. Present perfect, your experience and history. I studied in several countries. Simple past, specific events. Right now, I am developing new courses for online learners. Present continuous, what you're working on. I will open my own language school someday. Simple future, your dream. Do you see how these tenses are everywhere in real conversation? They're not abstract grammar concepts. They're the structure of everyday English. When you master them, you can have any conversation. You can tell any story. You can express any idea. Here's what I want you to practice. Take your own life and try to describe it using all 5 tenses. What's something you do regularly? Simple present. What are you doing right now or lately? Present continuous. What did you do recently? Simple past. What experience have you had? Present perfect. What do you want to do in the future? Simple future. If you can describe your own life using all 5 tenses naturally, then you've truly mastered them. Now I want to give you some specific strategies for practicing these 5 tenses so they become automatic for you. Strategy 1. Narration. This is one of my favorite techniques. Take a simple activity like making breakfast or getting ready for work. Do the activity and narrate it using all 5 tenses. Every morning, I wake up at 7. Simple present. Your routine. Right now, I am getting out of bed. Present continuous. What's happening? Yesterday, I woke up late. Simple past. What happened? I have never slept past 8. Present perfect. Your experience. I will try to be on time tomorrow. Simple future. Your commitment. This might feel silly at first, but your brain learns through doing. When you narrate your own life, you're practicing real, meaningful language, not abstract grammar exercises, your own real life. Strategy 2. Storytelling. Tell stories using these tenses. Maybe a story from your childhood. I grew up in a small town. Simple past. I spent most of my time outdoors. Simple past. I have never forgotten the adventures I had. Present perfect. Those experiences shaped who I am. Simple past. Your brain learns through narrative. Stories are how humans have always shared information. Strategy 3. Conversation practice. The best way to practice tenses is actually in conversation, because that's where you'll use them. If you can find a language partner or even a tutor, have real conversations. Don't focus on getting the tenses right. Focus on communicating, and the tenses will come naturally. Your speaking partner can gently correct you if you make a mistake. Strategy 4. Listening and imitating. Listen to native speakers using these tenses, maybe in podcasts, movies, or videos. Notice which tenses they use in which contexts. Try to imitate how they use them. Your ear learns too. When you hear patterns repeated over and over, your brain starts to internalize them. Strategy 5. Writing. Write about your day, your thoughts, your experiences. Use all 5 tenses. Then go back and check yourself. Did you use the right tenses? If you made mistakes, rewrite those sentences correctly. Writing forces you to think about tense. It makes you more aware. The key to all of these strategies is consistency. You need to practice regularly, not intensely. 15 minutes of practice every day is way better than 3 hours once a week. Your brain learns through repetition over time, so commit to practicing these tenses every single day, and you will see improvement very quickly. I want to give you some different perspectives on tenses that might help you understand them even better. One way to think about tenses is as a timeline. Simple present is your continuous life, the things you do all the time. Present continuous is a specific moment or a short period right now. Simple past is points on that timeline in the past. Present perfect is your journey so far, the accumulation of all your past experiences. And simple future is points on that timeline coming up. Another way to think about it is emotionally. Simple present is your identity, who you are. Present continuous is your action, what you're actively doing. Simple past is your story, what happened. Present perfect is your experience, what you've been through. Simple future is your dream, what you want to happen. You can also think about tenses in terms of certainty. Simple present is fact. It's true. Simple past is also fact. It happened. Present perfect is experience. You have the experience. Present continuous is action happening right now. Simple future is intention or prediction. It's less certain than fact. The reason I'm giving you these different perspectives is that different perspectives work for different people. Maybe the timeline analogy clicks for you. Maybe the emotional analogy makes more sense. Maybe the certainty analogy is what helps you understand. Try different perspectives and see which one resonates with your brain. I want to tell you about a student named Nina. She's an artist, a very visual thinker. Reading grammar rules never helped her understand tenses. But when I drew a timeline and showed her where each tense sits on that timeline, something clicked. She could see it. She could visualize it. And suddenly, tenses made sense to her, because I found an explanation that matched how her brain works. That's what I want for you too. Find an explanation, an analogy, a perspective that makes sense to your brain. Not everyone's brain works the same way. You're unique. Your way of learning is unique, so find what works for you. Before we wrap up, I want to talk about something really important: perfectionism with tenses. I see so many learners get stuck because they're trying to use the perfect tense in every sentence. They're so focused on getting the grammar right that they can't actually speak. Here's what I want you to understand. Native speakers don't think about tenses when they speak. They just speak. Their brain has internalized the patterns so deeply that they use the right tense automatically. And that's what you're aiming for. But you get there not by thinking harder about grammar. You get there by practicing so much that thinking becomes unnecessary. In the beginning, yes, you'll think about tenses. You'll be aware of them. You'll make mistakes. But that's completely normal and expected. Every single person who has ever learned a language well went through this phase. You think about it, you make mistakes, you learn from them, you practice more, and eventually you stop thinking about it. It becomes automatic. So my advice is this: don't aim for perfect tenses. Aim for communication. Aim to say what you want to say, and let the tenses come naturally through practice. If you make a mistake, that's fine. That's actually good. That means you're trying. That means you're pushing your abilities. And mistakes are where real learning happens. I had a student named Lucas who was so afraid of using the wrong tense that he would barely speak. He would prepare everything he wanted to say beforehand, make sure all the tenses were correct, and then say it. And it sounded so unnatural, because real conversation isn't like that. Real conversation is spontaneous and flowing. When I told Lucas to stop worrying about being correct and start focusing on being communicative, he initially thought I was crazy, but he tried it, and his confidence exploded. He started speaking more freely. Yes, he made tense mistakes sometimes, but people understood him, and through speaking, his tenses naturally improved without him even having to think about them. That can be your experience too. Give yourself permission to be imperfect. Give yourself permission to make mistakes. That's how you actually become fluent. As we wrap up, I want to talk about your journey forward with these 5 tenses. The fact that you now know these 5 tenses are all you really need is already a huge win. You've eliminated so much unnecessary confusion. You have clarity about what to focus on. That's huge. From here, the next step is practice. Consistent practice. I recommend this. Spend the next month focusing on these 5 tenses in your daily life. When you're speaking, try to use them intentionally. When you're listening, try to notice which tense native speakers are using. When you're writing, try to use all 5 tenses. Immerse yourself in these 5 tenses for a month, and I promise you, they will become so much more natural. Keep a journal. Write in English every single day and use all 5 tenses. This is incredibly powerful because you're practicing writing, you're practicing tenses, and you're building a record of your progress. You can look back at your journal from a month ago and see how much better you've become. Find a language partner or a tutor if you can. There's nothing like real conversation practice for internalizing tenses. A tutor can also give you feedback and help you correct your mistakes in real time. Listen to English every day. Podcasts, shows, movies, music, whatever. And as you listen, train your ear to notice tenses. After a while, your ear will become so attuned to the patterns that you'll start using them automatically. Remember, fluency is not about knowing every grammar rule. Fluency is about being able to communicate freely and naturally. These 5 tenses give you the foundation to do that. Once you have this foundation, you can build on it with vocabulary, pronunciation, cultural understanding, and all the other things that make you a truly fluent English speaker. But right now, focus on these 5. Master them, practice them, use them in your real life, and watch how your English transforms. I want to end with something really important. I want to inspire you to actually take action with what you've learned today. You have so much potential inside of you. You have a brain that's capable of learning and mastering these 5 tenses. You have the ability to practice. You have access to resources. You really do have everything you need to become fluent in English. All that's left is the decision to commit. And I'm not talking about some huge commitment. I'm not saying you have to study English for 3 hours a day. I'm saying commit to practicing these 5 tenses a little bit every day. 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever you can do. Just a little bit every single day. There's a quote that I absolutely love, and I want to share it with you. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. That's by Martin Luther King Jr. And I think that's so true about language learning. You don't need to know everything about English right now. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take one step. Today. Right now. So here's what I want you to do. After you finish listening to this podcast, I want you to pick one of the 5 tenses. Just one, and spend today practicing it. Just one tense. Feel how it works, use it in sentences, say it out loud. Get familiar with it. Tomorrow, pick another one, and keep going. Within 5 days, you'll have practiced all 5 tenses, and you'll have started the process of making them automatic. Get familiar with it. Tomorrow, pick another one, and keep going. Within 5 days, you'll have practiced all 5 tenses, and you'll have started the process of making them automatic. You're going to open doors that seemed closed. Language is powerful. English is powerful, and you're going to harness that power. I'm so proud of you for investing in your English learning, for listening to this podcast, for caring enough about your growth to spend this time with me today. That says something about your character. That says you're someone who wants to improve. That says you're someone who doesn't give up. Keep that energy. Keep that momentum. And let's build your English fluency together. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. This has been Lily's English Mastery Podcast, where we believe that English learning should be clear, inspiring, and actually useful for your real life. Remember, subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode. Share it with your friends, your study partners, anyone who's learning English. The more people who understand that they only need 5 tenses to become fluent, the more people will experience the confidence and joy of real English fluency. Check out our complete English mastery playlist for more episodes on grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, conversation, everything you need to become a truly fluent English speaker. I'm Lily, and I'll see you in the next episode. Keep practicing these 5 tenses. Keep speaking English. And remember, every sentence you speak in English is a win. Every mistake you make is progress. every day of practice is bringing you closer to your goals. You've got this. I believe in you. Let's go.